Next, we have a pioneer of a different sort, a pioneer in the health field, Bob Kowalski. I got to interview him a while back, and he is going to teach us a little bit about how to lower our blood pressure.
Perfect.
So
Nice.
let's
Have
watch
a
it.
look.
This is kind of a mission for you.
Absolutely.
It's not something that you take lightly.
No, this is payback time. It's really what it comes down to is payback time. At 35, I had a heart attack and bypass surgery in 1978. Those were the dark ages of cardiology. And when my surgeon discharged me from the hospital, he said, and I can hear that in my ears as though he said it yesterday, "Bob, let me give you some good advice. You had something wrong. We fixed it. Forget this ever happened. Go out and enjoy your life." There was no cardiac rehab. There was no dietary advice, nothing whatsoever. They fixed it like it was a plumbing problem. Six years later, I wind up in the hospital facing a second bypass that they tell me has 5 to 6 times the risk of my dying on the table. Now, as a medical journalist, and I'm trained both in journalism and in science, 2 degrees in journalism, doctoral study in physiology, I'd been writing about other people's problems for the years before that. And in '84, I thought, wait a second, I've got 2 little kids who need their daddy. I've got to find a way to keep myself alive. In my own case at that time, my biggest risk factor was cholesterol. It was 269, and I put together a program with reduced saturated fat. We didn't know about trans fats in those days. And then oat bran that I'd found in the nutrition
Which
journals.
now everyone
knows about.
about.
But I'm the guy that
You're the
started
guy that
all of
started
that
it.
back in the 80s. And then the use of the vitamin niacin to tell the body not to make so much cholesterol anymore. And now we have actually, since then, because I keep tracking things, there are plant sterols that are being used to fortify foods in the supermarket. Minute Maid Heartwise orange juice, if you see that, and you look at the back, it'll say contains plant sterols. The same thing with the Nature Valley Healthy Heart granola bars, which I take when I go hiking on the weekends.
So we've come a long way.
A long ways in cholesterol.
Right.
And then in 2003, there were a new set of guidelines that I read in one of the medical journals. And interestingly, this was never picked up in the mass media, for newspapers, television, and so forth. This was for physicians. And they didn't use these exact words, but to the effect of, hey guys, all these years we've thought that these numbers were okay for our patients, and it turns out that our patients are still at risk at those numbers, and that is between 120 over 80, which was, and still is considered normal today, and 140 over 90, which is considered hypertension. And it was as though that was a magic number. 140 over 90, we got to start you on medications. 135, 5 points off, and the doctor would say, well, it's high normal. Indeed, those numbers in between are now called pre-hypertension. It means it's just going to keep going up, and every single step of the way increases your risk. And I thought, well, gee, what's the doctor going to do? Whip out the prescription pad. Well, the antihypertensive drugs, as they're called, the blood pressure drugs, are just nasty. The doctors have the hardest time keeping their patients on those drugs because of the side effects.
Unhappy side effects.
Yeah, very unhappy side effects. From dizziness to fatigue to chronic cough, morning headache. For guys, impotence. That's a big one for guys.
Pretty unhappy.
That's very unhappy for both people in a relationship, I think. And so I thought, now, I wonder if there are some natural approaches that we might use, that I might be able to find, just as I found the oat bran and the niacin. And so, to my surprise, there are lots of ways that we can bring blood pressure down.
Wow.
You can learn a lot more through his book, The Blood Pressure Cure, by Bob Kowalski. You can also, if you search for him, there's quite a bit on the internet that you can learn. And my sister has been using his recommendations and has totally gotten off blood pressure medicine. She was very ill with very high blood pressure last year and was able to completely get off of medication by doing all of these natural things, because blood pressure medicine has a lot of side effects, like he mentioned, and so And so it's a really wonderful thing when you can fix the problem and not just address the symptom. And so she's been able to correct these problems with her body by using the things that he recommends, and
That's what
has
I liked
gotten
about it. Everybody's so quick just to take a drug and to mask what's going on instead of going to the root cause, figure that out so you don't have to take the others. That was interesting. That guy was lucky to be alive, too.
Oh, yes. He's
He truly is a pioneer, though, with all of these technologies now and all the things that we know about. He was doing this in the 80s.
And you know, he's a medical journalist. So it's not like he didn't have the advantage of having a medical degree. He had to go and search. But maybe that was good too, because he didn't have any prejudices and preconceived ideas. He was able to go and gather all of the information that was out there and then put it into a program, you know, a package, something that people can follow and use, and just by getting his book. And
Wow.
it's really great stuff.
That's great. Well, thank you for having that interview.
It was great to have him. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.